Om. 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 Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavtu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Namaste and good afternoon. Namaste and good afternoon, everyone watching us here on a Friday afternoon. My name is Prasad and I will be your MC for this afternoon. Welcome to the 8th day of the Singapore Festival of Hinduism. This afternoon, we are very lucky to have a topic that is seldom discussed or known very much. And this is the Hindu calendar and numerology. And with me to present is Shankar Rajan, for whom this is an avid hobby. And many friends, both Indians and Chinese, go to consult him for auspicious days and times. Very briefly, Shankar is a graduate of the University of Singapore, and he's a qualified financial advisor. He's also a traditionally trained Carnatic vocalist and Mirindagist, and had his Mirindangam Arangetram at the age of 11. Over the last 45 years, Shankar has enthusiastically contributed to the art scene in Singapore. He was Deputy General Manager of the Center for the Arts at the National University of Singapore, NUS, a pioneer member of the Singapore Indian Orchestra and Choir of the People's Association, and has also served the National Arts Council and National Youth Council, Singapore, in various capacities. He was also principal of the Singapore Indian Fine Arts Society for 2 terms. So I'm very, very happy to invite Shankar Rajan to present on numerology and the Hindu calendar. Over to you, Shankar.
Okay. Sound? Good afternoon, everybody. This is a topic that has been very close to my heart since my late teens. There was a chap called, a very nice man, Karunaivel Mudaliar, in the 60s in Singapore, who had a detailed knowledge of numerology, and I learned from him. Of course, he left Singapore quite early. So subsequently, I'm self-taught in the sense that I bought a lot of books. I consulted the priests and other astrologers and numerologists here, and I picked up a certain amount. But I must confess that my knowledge is still that of a novice. I'll try my best to explain the nuances of our Hindu calendar and numerology. Now, my scope of presentation is first a few words about Hinduism. I'm not saying much because this has been covered in various topics over the last 1 week. The Hindu calendar, the Panchangam, numerology, and then I hope to give you key takeaways before I answer any questions. Hinduism, as you all know, is a way of life, more than a religion. It's the 3rd largest religion, 1.25 billion followers, roughly 15 to 16% of the global population, and 95% of them, Hindus, live in India. This is the oldest religion, which roots going back to, some say 4,000, some say 10,000. It goes back to antiquity. There is no one text like most other religions. We have the primary texts, which are the 4 Vedas. The calendar. Now, what is the calendar? The calendar actually is what happens during the whole year. How do you read the months, the days, the years? And origin is supposed to be done by various rishis some 4,000, 5,000 years ago. And it's recorded in an instrument, a publication called Panchangam in the south of India, or Panchang in the north of India. What is interesting is this calendar of ours is called a Looney solar calendar. Let me explain that. Looney solar means it's basically a lunar calendar with solar adjustments. That means the structure is based on the moon with solar adjustments. What are the striking features of the Hindu calendar? It offers multi-dimensional method of structuring time, lunar days, solar days, months, and is all tied up to the movement of the moon and the sun. This actually makes the Hindu calendar a lot more complex than the Gregorian calendar. Now, the primary feature, of course, is how long is the length of the lunar month. Each month, how long does it take the moon to orbit the Earth while the Earth is orbiting the sun? Each lunar month, as is commonly known, is divided into 30 days, lunar days. Actually, it's closer to 29.5 or 29 point something, something, something. Now, roughly, it's broken up into 2 parts, 2 fortnights of 15 days each. One fortnight, which is a waxing moon, the bright fortnight, and the dark fortnight, the waning moon. All right? So generally in South India, the month starts from the new moon, the day after Amavasya. Look at this, the waxing moon. It moves from a streak, and at the end, after 14 days, it goes into full bloom, the full moon, which is called Paurnami. And each of the days, the 14 days, gives you the position of the moon with a particular name. All of you must have heard about the Tithi. They say Pradhamai Tithi, Dvidiyai Tithi. Now, it sounds very complex, but it is nothing. It is merely counting 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 14. So what is 10? Dasami. What is 11? Ekadasi. What is 14? Chaturtasi. So each position of the moon, and it grows as it grows from black moon to Paurnami, all right, is the waxing moon. And the waning moon, that is the opposite. From Paurnami, from full moon, it goes down 14, the 15th day, it becomes black moon again, Amavasya. So again, the same names are used. The first day after Paurnami is Pradhamai, Dvidiyai, Tridiyai, Chaturthi, Panchami, Sashti, Saptami, Ashtami, Navami, Dasami, Ekadasi, Dwadasi, Trayodasi, and Chaturtasi. So again, the 14 days in the opposite direction. So this is how the moon changes in shape to our eyes. And what is interesting is that when you talk about the waning moon and the waxing moon, to us Hindus, it doesn't make sense for the day to start at midnight. It actually starts from sunrise. and he goes one round, sunset, and back to the next day's sunrise. That is the cycle of a 24-hour movement. Now, I mean, let me tell you a small story, whether it's true or not. They say, why did the Greenwich Mean Time and the people in England fix midnight as a start of, who wants to start a day in the middle of the night when everybody is actually sleeping? Apparently, the people who fixed it, they compared with the timing in India, and they found that India, the sunrise time is about 5.5, 6 hours away, 5.5 hours or so away from earlier. So later. So midnight in England is actually about 5:30 in the morning, which is sunrise time. So they fixed that. And then they referred and say that India's sunrise time is our midnight. But what we did was we went back and used their midnight as a starting point. Now, whether the story is true or not, it's important that we start our day from sunrise. Now, let me tell you a bit about the sunrise timing. In general, India is a vast country. The sunrise times varies from 5:15, 5:30, 5:45, and so on, but generally accepted as 6 a.m. as the basic sunrise time. What is the sunrise time? If you get up every morning, at 6:30 it's still dark, because our sunrise time is closer to 7 a.m. Why? Well, there were 2 half-hour adjustments in the history of Singapore. The first was pre-war, during the British time, when they added 30 minutes. We were 7 hours plus GMT, but some people thought it's wiser to put 7.5, it's closer to 7.5. So we added 30 minutes. The second one was interesting. It happened in 1982. Malaysia, you have East Malaysia and West Malaysia. All right, West Malaysia, Barat, Kuala Lumpur, Malacca, and all had one timing. East, Sabah, Sarawak, 30 minutes ahead. So the decision was then taken by the then Malaysian government that we should standardize. How do you standardize? You add 30 minutes to West Malaysia, Malaysia, Barat. So that Kuala Lumpur, Penang, and so on, you have to add 30 minutes. And it was done on 1182. I actually witnessed the thing on TV, where on December 31st, they showed 11:30 p.m., pop, it goes to midnight after that. And that left Singapore in a predicament, because you can't have us walking across from Singapore to Johor. Suddenly it's 30 minutes difference in time. So we changed. According to the Malaysian change, we also added 30 minutes, probably the only time when we copied Malaysia. And therefore, we are 1 hour ahead. If you look at the longitudes to calculate time, we're actually 1 hour wrong. We should be the same time as Thailand and Jakarta, Bangkok, Jakarta, but we are stuck with this. Now, what is the implication of this 1 hour change? Is that whatever we want to calculate, when the day begins at 7 instead of 6, if you use the standard Indian Panchangam produced in India, you got to give the 1 hour adjustment. All right, let me just give you one example. Is that, there's one time called Rahu Kalam. Rahu Kalam is an inauspicious time. Every day you have 1.5 hours of Rahu Kalam. All right, now, how does a Rahu Kalam work? If you take a normal day in India, the first 1.5 from sunrise, 6 to 7:30 is okay, is clean. 7:30 to 9 is the first Rahu Kalam. The second, 9 to 10:30. 10:30 to 12, 12 to 1:30, 1:30 to 3, 3 to 4:30, 4:30 to 6, 6 p.m. the Rahu Kalam ends. In fact, all Muhurtams also end. We're not supposed to have Muhurtam after sunset, although we know that sometimes we do marriages in Singapore at night. Therefore, each day of the week, 1.5 hours, but it doesn't flow. It doesn't mean Monday is 7:30 to 9, Tuesday is 9. No. It's different days, different 1.5 hours. Complex, isn't it? So there is a limerick that I was taught when I was a little boy by my guru. He says, repeat this after me. Mother saw father wearing the turban on Sunday. Mother saw father wearing the turban on Sunday. Mother, Monday, first Rahu Kalam. All right? Saw, Saturday, second Rahu Kalam. Father, Friday. Okay, mother or father wearing Wednesday. The, Thursday. Turban, Tuesday, Sunday. So that is the order. So the last Rahu Kalam used to be 4:30 to 6. Now, of course, with the 1 hour adjustment, is 5:30 to 7. Rahu Kalam, to some people, is extremely important because they don't want to get married the most of the time during the Rahu Kalam, nor do they want to sign a contract, nor do they want to start a business. So that is Rahu Kalam, and that is the meaning of the time adjustment. When you talk about time, in the Jatakam of anybody, you look at, if you want to determine what Nakshatram the person is born, okay, you have 27 Nakshatras. These 27 Nakshatras are a mouthful, the name, okay? Ashwini Bharani, Kartika, Rogini, Mrgasiri, Samthiruadire, Punarpusam, Pusam, Mayalyam, Makam, Puram, Muttiramastam, Chittirasuadi, Visagamanusham, Kete Moolam, Purada, Mutradu, Tirivonam, Avitam, Sadayam, Purattadi, Utrattadi, Revadi. This was a song in a Tamil movie some 40 years ago, which I learned to list out all the 27 Nakshatram. So if you look at a particular day, take the Panchangam, all right, I have the book, it's not clear if you see it, and turn to that, say, you look at today's date, for example, and then they will say, today is Dwadasi, is so many Narige. What is Narige? We've not heard of this. The unit of measurement of time in the Hindu calendar is 1 Nari or Narige, which is 24 minutes. It is not the 60-minute hour that we are worried about, but the 24-minute unit called a Narige. So in one day, you have 60 Nariges. 60 Narige times 24 minutes gives you back the same calculation of 24 hours. So if you look at the Panchangam, and then it says, today, let's say the baby was born at 10 a.m. on a particular day. You look at the Panchangam, it says Nakshatram, okay? Bharani Nakshatram, 6 Narige, it says, let's say. So what happens, first of all, what is 6 Narige? 6 times 24. No, what is 6 times 24? 144. That's 2 hours, 120 and 24 minutes. So 2 hours and 24 minutes, you have this Nakshatram Bharani. After that, Kartikeya comes. Now, how do you calculate from what is the sunrise time on that day? Roughly it's 7 o'clock. So from 7 o'clock to 144 minutes, 2 hours, 24 minutes, you have this Nakshatram Bharani. So you fix the person's Nakshatram as Bharani. Similarly, you look at the Tithi. Is it Ashtami, Navami, Dasami? You fix it. Let's say the child was born at 10 a.m. So from 7 a.m., 2 hours, no, it goes beyond that Nadigai. So what happens? The next nakshatram is Kartigai. So when you fix a person's nakshatram from the time of birth and so on, or the tithi, you have to look at the timings starting from sunrise time. All right. So these are the 27 nakshatram. These are the stars. 27 stars that are floating in the sky. Now, a little bit more calculation on the nakshatras. Each nakshatra is taken as having 4 parts. Bhagam 1, Bhagam 2, Bhagam 3, Bhagam 4. So 4 parts times 27. What do you get? 108 parts. All right. Now, if you want to divide the 108 into 12, you get 9 parts. All right. So you get 9 parts in one zodiac sign. We'll come to the zodiac sign. Okay, the 12 rasis. Each rasi has 9 parts of a nakshatra. All right, so you take the first rasi, Mesham. It has Ashwini 4 parts, Bharani 4 parts, Kartigai 1 part. You take the second Rishabham, okay, Rasi. You have the remainder 3 parts, Kartigai, and then 4 and 2 and so on. So the nakshatram are distributed into the 12 rasis. Some nakshatrams fit perfectly, 4 parts into one rasi. For example, you take my rasi Kadagam, okay? My Ayali nakshatram fits all 4 parts. But if you take Kritigai, the first part goes into Mesha Rasi, the second goes into Rishabha Rasi. So we have to be very careful when you fix the Rasi, because the Rasi and the Nakshatram are the determinants when you later on want to calculate for a lot of things, including marriage, including the characteristics, attributes of the person and so on. So we have to be very careful. And this Rasi has a quite similar equivalent in the Gregorian calendar, where you have the 12 zodiac signs, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so on. So they are about equal. And of course, this is the Sanskrit names. That when you have the Tamil names, you have, everybody knows, Chitre, Vaigasi, Ani, Adi, Avani, Puratasi, Aipasi, etc., up to Pangini. All right? And we have 60 years, okay, as one cycle, 60. And again, they are Sanskrit names and they are all a mouthful, Prabhava, Vivasukila, Pramoduda, Pradotpati, and so on. It's hard to remember, but it's nice if you can remember your own year of birth. Now then, suddenly it strikes me that when it comes to a Chinese calendar, they have only 12 months to identify, 12 animals they use to identify the 12 years, not 12 months, 12 years. So is it very different? Not so. All right. I will tell you this much. The 12 animals, actually, each animal has 5 parts. They have the, I'll read to you here. All right. They have the pig ear, the horse ear, the tiger ear, and so on. So each type has 5. So what does it mean? You have 5 years, 12 animals multiplied by 5 elements. So you could be a fire tiger, you could be an air tiger, you could be a wood tiger. So something like a Panchabhutangal, they have 5 elements which are different. Okay, they have stone and so on. So you have 5 times 12 is 60. So the Chinese calendar also revolves around 60 months. All right. Now here, let me go to the question, the basic question. When does the new year begin? Generally, the start of the year is on the new moon before the sun enters Mesham, because the sun is at this top position, all right, solstice. Now when is that? That is usually around mid-April. So the interesting thing is that our year begins in the middle of April, whereas the Gregorian year begins in January. Actually, I'm told that in history, earlier on during the calculation of using the Julian year and other years, they also started around mid-April, March, April. But we had Pope Gregory, I think around 1582, he decided that after Christmas in December, the new year should start. So he changed the system for January to become the new year. And there's one story about the April Fool's joke. And that is that around that time, when April came, people say, oh, New Year is coming. Then they say, no, you're an April Fool. New Year is already over in January, while people are getting adjusted to the New Year in April. So traditionally, internationally, scientifically, starting a new year around middle of April, March, April, let's say, is probably more correct than anybody, because that is the position of the sun right on top. Let me just add something here. Even with all the changes that Gregory made at that time, interesting thing is that the names of the months which were given were not changed. So let's say that we take March, April as the first month. So let's say March, start with March. You got 1 March, then April 2, May 3, June 4, July 5, August 6, September 7. What is September? September, the name itself, the septa comes from the Sanskrit 7. Then you have the next month, October. Sanskrit 8 is Ashta or Akta or Okta, so it's October. Sanskrit 9 is Nava, is 9, November. And Sanskrit 10 is Dasa, is December. So even while the order of the New Year was changed, the name of the months, 4 of them, the old Sanskritized names were kept. So let me add one more thing called a Metronic Cycle. This is high complex mathematics in the Panchangam. Once every 19 years, what happens is the position of all, okay, the phase, okay, during this period, all are arranged in a particular manner. So your stars, your planets, everything take in a particular line. So if you take this year, 2020, at 19 years, you got 2039. If you look at the calendar of 2039, ditto, it will be very similar. I'm talking about the Hindu calendar to this year. So if January 1st starts on a Monday and the Tithi is this and the Nakshatram is this, the same thing will happen. This, of course, was discovered, I mean, it's credited to a Greek astronomer called Metronic, so that the exact correlation between the solar, lunar time and all that is defined in this Metronic cycle. Now, what is the advantage of knowing this is that in case you're not sure whether you actually are enjoying the Nakshatram correctly guided to you, offered to you when you were a baby long ago, you test every 19 years. That means on your 19th birthday, 38th birthday, 57th birthday, 76th birthday, your Tamil Nakshatram will fall exactly on your English birthday. If that is correct, that means the original Kanaka was correct, calculation was correct. Okay, now let's just say, knowing all this, let's take the example of a person born on 1st November. If you look at the Panchangam, the Nakshatram is Bharani, the Rasi is Mesham. So when you want to work out the attributes or the characteristics, it will be related to his Nakshatram and Rasi, which generally says that he will be a natural leader and a decisive person. So the Nakshatram and the Rasi brings about certain characteristics. That's a separate study, not in the calendar, but more on astrology, where you can predict the characteristics of the person by using his Nakshatram and Rasi. Let me just add one more point before I finish on calendars. And that is, I talked about a Looney solar calendar. Now, Deepavali, for example, can only fall between mid-October to mid-November. So, I give you some example here. If this year's Deepavali was 14th November, next year's Deepavali, minus 10 or minus 11 days. How do you get this 11 days? If you take 29 and a half multiplied by 12, you get 354. That's a fully lunar year. A solar year is 365 or 365 and a quarter. The difference is 11 days. So the Tithi moves 11 days every year. So next year, Diwali, if you look at the calendar, it will be either 4th November or 5th November. Then the following year, minus 11 again, it will be 24th October. And then the following year, 2023, it comes back to 12th November because 24 minus 11 is 13th October. It goes to the earlier month. So you have to do the solar adjustment by adding back 29 and a half days or 29 days. So the period, the Diwali can fluctuate is mid-October to mid. Chinese New Year is similar, all right? It is mid-January to mid-February. Usually Chinese New Year is the Thai Amavasya period. It fluctuates within that 1 month. But if you are a fully lunar year like Hari Raya Posa goes 11 days less every year. So it can fall in July, mid-year. It can fall in February. It can fall in December. Now, I suppose one of the reasons for this is that the Indian and the Chinese societies were agricultural societies dependent on the seasons, the sun, the rain, and so on. So you can't have certain activities during certain periods. Harvest must be in this month, okay? Planting must be this month, and so on. That's why you have solar adjustments. Okay, I think I've touched quite a lot. There are a lot of more interesting things about calendar. For example, if you take the South Indian calendar, you have two types, the Vakya Panchangam and the Ganita Panchangam. It's difficult to go into these details. Ganita Panchangam is extremely mathematical, not used regularly by the common person. What we use is the Vakya Panchangam, which is easier to do and understand. Even the Vakya Panchangam, there are about 4 or 5 different institutions in South India coming up, which may have minor differences. But it's important that we use the Vakya Panchangam. And one good example, which I showed in the picture earlier, was the Pambu Panchangam, which has been up to about 20 years ago. We used to be using the Sri Lankan Panchangam, which was good. But then after all the issues there in Sri Lanka, they stopped publishing that. Now we use the Pambu Panchangam. So that's as much as I want to say for calendars. And we'll now take a quick pause so that I can go into numerology. What is numerology? Numerology is a mystery, but evidence shows that numerology was used thousands of years ago in Rome, China, and Greece. And of course, the famous Pythagoras, the Greek mathematician and philosopher, he is credited as being the master of numerology. Now, numerology is basically study of numbers, all right? Where when you have a person born, let's say you take a person who's born today, 27 November 2020, all right? The first number, 27, is the birth date number. So what you do is take 2 plus 7, 27 is 9. You reduce everything to a single digit, 9. Then if you want to take the next number, which is the birth number, or they're called by different names, which is a summary of the whole date of birth. So you have 2 plus 7, 11 is 1, 1. Then 2020 is, you have 2, 0, 2, 0. If you add everything and reduce, 15 becomes 6. So your destiny number or your birth number is 6. Then you have a third one, which is the name number. What is the name number? Name number is where each letter of the alphabet is assigned a number. This apparently was given more than 2,000 years ago. It is not in order. If you look at the chart in front of you, okay, if you take A, B, C, D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then suddenly F becomes 8, G becomes 3, H becomes 5, and so on. So for a person like me, I learned this table by heart. Okay, you ask me any letter, I would say, this is it. It's 7 value, it's 8 value, it's 9 value. No, there is no 9 value because 9 comes back to the original. You know that anything you add 9, 1 plus 9, 10 is 1 plus 0 back to 1, you know. All right, so 1 to 8 you have. How do you determine the name number? Okay, what you do is you use the commonly called name. In my case, everybody calls me Shankar, so I have to use Shankar. Let's take a simpler example. Let's say a person's name is Venkata Subramaniam. Now, that's a mouthful. So, let's say everybody calls him Mani. What is Mani? Is M-A-N-I. Okay? What is M? M is 4. A is 1. N is 5. I is 1. So, 4 plus 1 plus 5 plus 1 gives you 11, goes back to 2. So, his name number is 2. So, you have this person, Mani, who is 962. Birth date number 9, birth number 6, name number 2. So 962 is Mani's numerological combination. All right, the 3 numbers. What's so important about this? Each of the numbers have certain significance, certain attributes, certain characteristics. And then not only that, interacting between the letters. All right, I'll go to the end and show you this example. Okay. This is what I mentioned earlier. 962 is a combination. So if you want to get married, you look at certain attributes. Now that's one part of numerology where you learn the attributes and the interconnecting links and so on. Whether you believe in it or not, that's a subject matter. Many of us like this study, we do a lot of things. It's especially useful in fixing good times when you want to move house, when you buy a car, buy a house, sign a contract, and so on. You know, but some people go to the extent you become obsessed with it. Don't. All right, it's interesting, but let's do it as a part and parcel of a hobby, in my opinion. Okay. Now, if you take 962, you take as an illustration. All right. What is the 9's attributes? What is 6? 9 is generous, compassionate, and strong. 6 is your caring, sharing. Number 2, balanced, peace-loving person. So what happens is you have a very nice guy, this Mr. Money, but he may be viewed as soft and indecisive. So if you ask an astrologer, he will say, you can't change your date of birth, but you can change your name. Maybe you need to change the name number to make it to add up to 1. 1 is the sun's number. Okay, so it becomes a little more decisive, a stronger character. Now, let me emphasize that you don't have to do it unless you seriously believe in it, but don't get overly obsessive with these things. May not be good for a person, but it's good to play around and to guess people's attributes. Okay, now let me go to the number by number now. Some attributes of number 1, sun, is governed by Surya. So you're creative, bold, and not easy to partner. And I've dug up the following names of people born on birth date number 1, which is Mukesh Ambani, Indira Gandhi, Mahathir, and Aung San Suu Kyi. Now, these are people fitting in the attributes of being creative, bold, and not easy to work with. Number 2, Moon, Chandran, is a balanced, peace-loving, non-confrontational persons who build up relationships, but sometimes are afraid to make mistakes. I got one example was M.K. Gandhi, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Number 3 is Jupiter, Guru's number, Thursday. These are problem solvers, innovative, and they are people who are supposed to be suitable for uniformed military jobs. And the example I got was Winston Churchill, who was, I think, a naval leader, admiral or something. Number 4, Rahu is stayed there, detailed, organized, reliable. It's a no-nonsense kind of personality, Isaac Newton. Number 5, Buddhan, Mars. Fun-loving, friendly, constantly changing relationships. 2 names I picked up were Pandit Nehru and Donald Trump. Then number 6, Venus, called Veli or Sukran, popular, harmonious, caring and sharing and nurturing, Muthuswami Dikshidhar, who was a classical musician. I didn't get any political name. Number 7, Ketu, deeply intuitive, spiritual, just like you have 7 seas, 7 weekdays, 7 colors, 7 mountains. These guys, everything. They're analytical in their thinking. We have 2 persons, Lee Kuan Yew and Sir C.V. Raman. 8, Sunny. Generally looked at confident, sometimes considered by others as domineering. I have Tunku Abdul Rahman and Narendra Modi. And number 9, generous, compassionate, and yet strong, Nelson Mandela. All right. So that's about all I can say for numerology. Now, what are the key takeaways? Firstly, Hinduism has a very structured calendar where it's tough to learn or to learn the details of various things in the calendar. I mean, there are ways of calculating 20 years down the road, say in 2040, when will the solar eclipse happen? Possible. All right. So it's quite scientific. And numerology, look at it as used to determine the attributes of a person more than anything, including relationships, looking for dates for marriages, and so on. I think I've said enough about a topic which will take at least 20 lectures to learn one bit of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shankar. Could I just, either you can leave your slides there, or perhaps it might be easier to unshare your slides so people can see you. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very interesting to learn about our Hindu calendar as well as some of the aspects of numerology. I think you have covered quite a good depth, notwithstanding that you say there's a lot more to learn. Um, One of the things that I'm curious about is that there doesn't appear to be for the Hindu calendar any starting date. If you look at the Gregorian or Christian calendar, this year is 2020. If you look at the Muslim calendar, it's 1442 this year. Even if you look at the Buddhist calendar, it's actually 2563, which is 543 years even behind the Gregorian calendar. But for the Hindu calendar and Chinese calendar, I'm not able to find any particular start date. You have anything to comment on that?
It's related to our religion. Do we have one figure that we go back to as a starting point for Hinduism? You may have Jesus, you may have Muhammad, but you don't have. So it goes back to time immemorial. And from the time there was man, there were calculations and so on. So I think the answer is we don't have a starting point.
Okay.
Our religion. So similarly, we don't have a starting point. Yeah.
Okay. So it's like infinite then.
Yes, it definitely.
Yeah. Another question on the calendar. A lot of people do their fasting on Ekadasi day.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there anything special about Ekadasi day for fasting? Or is there any other days possible?
Okay, let me just tell you this. This practice of fasting or following certain things on certain days or certain tithi varies depending whether you're in South India or in North India or what caste or so we come from. So there is no fixed. Okay, you take Ekadasi, all right? A lot of people also fast on Sashti. So why Sashti? Why? To me, the answer is it's a practice. It's good for health that once in 15 days you fast. And fasting really doesn't mean complete abstinence from food or drink. You eat some fruits or something like that, reduce your intake, good for health reasons. And it was done. So some people do Ekadasi, some people do Sashti. I don't think there's any scientific connection with the 11th day Ekadasi and fasting. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, it's the old folks, our parents, grandparents. This is where it comes from, that we pick it up from there.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're saying that there's no specific reason, as long as it happens every 2 weeks, every 15 days.
Which is twice a month to reduce your intake and eat. Already the question of vegetarian food came up earlier. It's good, but nobody is forcing you. But if you think that it's good for your health and it helps, why not? And let's choose a day. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes it easy for people who want to go into intermittent fasting and things like that.
Sure. Somebody can just say that every Friday I go to the temple and on that day I don't eat anything except fruit. Fine. Right? There, I think that our religion has no hard and fast rules about many things. So this is one of those things. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good answer. Coming to numerology, this is where I get a little bit confused, because it seems to be a mix. It's not specifically Indian or Hindu at all, because we are mixing English alphabets, for example, instead of Tamil or Telugu alphabet, we are using English alphabet to calculate the birth number. We are using the Gregorian calendar to calculate use the date of birth. And then we use our own interpretation. So numerology appears to be quite a secular thing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes and no, in the sense that in the early days, when you want to calculate relationships and so on, instead of using numbers, they used Tara Balam, Chandra Balam. That means the distance between this nakshatram and the next nakshatram and so on. But over the years, I think for practical purposes, this English alphabet became international. So they just adopted it. But I agree with you that there seems to be an overlap. Even the numbers, for example, we attribute a number to a particular day. For example, you say 1 is Sunday, all right? And so on. Now, actually, if you look at the calculation of numerology, we don't look at the actual date. We're not interested in the full date. We are individual numbers 1 to 8. So you cut everything down to 1 to 8. And what are the attributes of 1 to 8? It was fixed long ago that, okay, 8 is Saturn, Sunny's number. So whatever Sunny's attributes are there affects 8. So that's it. So my answer is, it's very difficult to give a fully acceptable answer, except to say that over the years, we got everything mixed up, actually. we got it mixed up with the English, this thing. And, you know, so Cairo, for example, when he fixed these numbers, internationally accepted at some kind of a conference. And they said, look, doesn't matter if you're Japanese, use this, then you get a standard thing for the whole world. Okay, that's it.
Say, like, for example, the example used of money, MANI, we didn't use the Tamil money or something, you know, we used.
I was told that in the 12th, 13th century, the Tamils used the RREE, okay, and then the Telugus used their script, and they found that it was so confusing that they said, let's go back to using English, which is standard.
Yeah.
So I don't have a real answer except this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think numerology is much more of a secular thing, but we mix it up, like you rightly say. We also mix it up.
Yes.
Yeah. But it goes to show that there is a lot of consistency between several planetary systems, because after all, the planets are the same, right? Yeah. The calendar is the same. But when you talk about Rasi and Nakshatram, then it moves over to the Panchangam side.
Correct. And even the grahas, like, you know, we talk about Rahu and Ketu. We don't have an equivalent in the Gregorian calendar. All right, they are Neptune and Uranus have nothing to do with our Rahu and Ketu, as some people think they are. So that's it. You know? Okay.
Do you want to say something about Navagraham in the temple?
Okay, Navagraha has a long history of different stories for each of the planets. And what is important is when the Navagrahas are fixed in the temple, the position is very important. Okay, I'm afraid I didn't bring a chart here to show, but if you have the 9, okay, layout of 9, the center is the sun, all right? And then moving diagonally right on top is Monday, okay, moon. And then down is Tuesday. And then you have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday behind the sun and Rahu and Ketu. All the 9 are positioned in such a way that no 2 Navagrahas face each other. Okay, the story of Navagrahas is that they're all independent. They have their own attributes. They have their own skills. They don't face each other. So that is the main thing. So when you pray to the Navagrahas, what you're saying is, let me accept all the good values of all the 9 planets, 9 grahas, not planets, because Rahu and Ketu are not considered planets by the Western system. And let me wipe out all the bad habits. So that's simple as that. You're praying to absorb the good values of the planets. And of course, each planet has its strengths and weaknesses, as we saw just now, the attributes, the characteristics. And certain days, like when you have Sunny Perchi, okay, your special praise for Saturn, or, you know, when your Guru Perchi, when Guru moves, okay, Thursday, all right, the Guru, Saturn, your special prayers and so on. Yeah, so it's basically prayers.
Thank you so much, Shankar. It's been an awesome, a very brilliant presentation. And I think a lot of our listeners have given us very positive feedback on that. So thank you very much. I have a couple of announcements to make. So let me just go to So thank you everyone who have been watching this show, this presentation by Shankar Rajan. Thank you for your strong support so far for all the festival events. Coming up after this at 7 p.m., we have Dr. A.L. Anandaji from the Chinmaya Seva Center, who will be speaking on life lessons from the Gita. Anandaji is the leading faculty at Chinmaya Mission in Singapore, and it is sure to be a highly spiritual talk. So I encourage all of you to attend this presentation. Now, for all the other events on Saturday and Sunday, please check out the festival website, sfh.sg. We are coming to the end of the festival. We only have 2 more days to go. If you want to be informed of Hindu Center's activities, sign up for the WhatsApp at Hindu Center broadcast group, and you will receive timely notices of the events that are taking place. Send the message join to the number shown here, +65 8768 0532, with your name and email ID. Now, as this is a broadcast only group, your name or number will not be visible or shown to anyone else. As you all know, this Festival of Hinduism is organized by the Hindu Center. The Hindu Center is a charity, for those of you who may not be familiar, formed in 1978 to promote greater awareness of Hinduism in Singapore, as well as to raise the level of knowledge of our Vedic scriptures, practices, and our heritage. The center's activities are based on the 3 pillars of Jnana, Bhakti, and Seva: knowledge, devotion, and service. As you can see on the slide, each pillar supports a range of activities like teaching adults and children, bhajans, prayers, mass chanting, and seva at the Singapore prisons and old age homes. In 2019, we delivered over 25,000 beneficiary hours in prisons and old age homes, Vedanta classes, yoga, children's programs, and various bhakti events. So your generous support will allow us to deliver even more in the coming years. This year has been a very difficult year for Hindu Center. You can also volunteer your time and expertise through our various projects by registering your interest on our website. Just go into the website and you can register there. So I urge you now, you can make your donation at hinducenter.org.sg/donations or through the QR code which you can see on your screen. One time or regular, which is even better, donations are welcome. Please support generously. Thank you very much. And now we will move on to closing prayers.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So thank you, everyone, and thank you especially to Shankar for a very, very great session today. Have a good evening. Thank you. Namaste.